Hey everybody, I hope you have an amazing day. This is FC with CappersDirect.com here to talk to you guys and bring you guys your first look preview for this humongous UFC 287 event that goes down on April 8th. That's this Saturday down there in Miami, guys. We have the champion, the newly crowned champion, Alex Pereira, in the rematch versus Izzy Adesanya. Really, guys, there's no really recap we have to do for last week. There was no UFC last week. We did win that Bellator fight pick of the year, plus 130. Can't peg me. Told you guys. But we'll go into that next Bellator event. Right now, let's not waste any time at all, guys. Let's get into your main card breakdown right now. Okay, so we're going to hit this one from the back, guys. In your main event, we have the champion, Alex Pereira, versus the former champion, Israel Adesanya, the guy who can't seem to beat Alex Pereira. Let's talk about Alex first. Alex is 7-1 in MMA. He's 35 years old. He's a kickboxing phenom. We know everything. You guys already have heard me break this fight down. Same height, same reach, supposedly. I mean, I think Alex Pereira looks a lot taller than me, looks a lot bigger than me. I don't know how they get that height and reach thing working out, but Alex plans to strike in this matchup, guys. He has been working takedowns in his camp, but I think it's more or less because if you looked at the last fight, Alex Pereira did kind of go for a takedown, got reversed. There was a lot of weirdness that went on. Izzy did actually get a takedown officially in that matchup, but Alex, Alex knows that Alex really does believe that he can beat Izzy. In his mind, Izzy is not powerful enough. He doesn't move properly and doesn't have the right gas tank to go all the way 5 rounds with that style against Alex. Alex believes he's going to knock him out eventually. And as product, I mean, how many times has Alex beaten Izzy now in totality? 3? I mean, he beat him twice, knocked him out twice. He beat him 3 times in total. Man, I don't know though. Alex is getting up there in age. This fight wasn't that long ago, and we saw what happened. I mean, if you guys want to know the truth of what happened, Izzy was, in my opinion, winning that fight. He was getting the better of Alex Pereira. He rocked him in the first round and was like, one point for me. And then he continued to go on, but something happened with Izzy, man. He got really weirdly. It's like his energy meter was going down. He had been in wars before. I remember when he beat Kelvin Gastelum. He sat there and said, "I'm ready to die. You're not going to kill me. I'm ready to die. I'm ready to die. Here we go. You ready? We're going to go." And he fought that last round like crazy and won. I mean, the guy has a crazy heart and a crazy ability to win fights. But then that last fight, guys, he looked tired in that last round. He had gotten hit. Like I said, that energy bar. Every time he kept getting hit, it just seemed like he didn't have that 5th round energy that he had against Calvin Gastelum. Even though he was getting hit against Calvin and rocked and taken down, and there were a lot of things in that fight that he just fought through. And I don't know, you almost wonder if Izzy got a little too comfortable. Is he going to be able to replicate, or is he going to be able to capture? We just saw Kamaru Usman had the belt for forever. Leon Edwards comes up, knocks him out in the 5th round in a fight that Usman was dominating. What happens the second fight? I told you guys. I warned you guys about Edwards and that having that new championship and having people come out of the woodwork helping you. I told you guys then. Alex Pereira didn't necessarily have that so much. You got to understand, a lot of people loved Izzy. In actuality, a lot of people went to Izzy and said, "Hey, what do we need to do to help you? Like, you're going to get this. You're going to get this champ. You're going to get this back." There are a lot of people there helping him. I know Izzy's talking about, when no longer the champion, voices dwindling down. But really, there were a lot of really good people there to help Izzy. Alex Pereira did sort of the same thing he always does. He went back to camp. He worked. He did work with some other new people, but it wasn't in the manner that I'm used to seeing these champions like bring in huge camps and bring in huge people and really make sure that they're cementing their championship. I almost have a feeling like Alex thinks he's got Izzy's numbers. He's already beat him 3 times, knocked him out twice, even though in that last fight, Izzy was, in my opinion, winning before the final, hooks came out and kind of rocked and dropped Izzy, and he was just done. I mean, to sit here and say that Alex Pereira is just strictly going to win, I mean, I can totally see it. He's already won how many times? The fact that Alex Pereira is a underdog going into this matchup. I told Izzy that, and Izzy was shocked. Izzy was like, what? Like, dang. I mean, that's crazy. Izzy thought for sure he was going to be the underdog in this. But I think a lot of people love the name, and I think they're going to make you pay that favorite price for a fight that's going to be fairly close. Now, I will say there's something on the Israel Adesanya side that if he comes out with, it will be a game changer. But guys, I've heard the nonsense from Izzy before that he's going to do this, that, and the other, and it just doesn't necessarily happen. He goes out there and flows with it. He sees how the fight's going, and in turn will make adjustments, and that's just how he fights. So if Izzy's on that day, he has a good game plan coming in. He's on. He sees the things that he needs to see. He will go in there. He will execute. But if Izzy's a little off, there might be a time where he's like, man, I didn't feel like doing that. I felt like doing this. I felt like leg kicking the whole time. I never felt like striking. Like, my hands weren't feeling it. Like, so he will adjust and do things. It's in those adjustments sometimes he doesn't make the proper ones, or sometimes he has a really good game plan. For this fight, he has a really good game plan coming in. Doubt he sticks to it. I just doubt it. He never does. So, guys, right now, I mean, all the values on Alex Pereira. Alex beat him 3 times. 3. Knocked him out twice. I know that Izzy was sort of winning that last fight. I mean, you have to look at this fight as of right now. We're talking about early in the week. Numbers just came out early in the week for a lot of the other fights. Early in the week. I say that the value is on Alex Pereira. But you guys are going to want to tune in on Friday for that write-up, because there's some things on the Izzy side that I have to know. And if I know them, it's going to go the other way, guys. We're going to actually take a favorite for once. I mean, it might happen. You never know. But as of right now, I like Alex Pereira. I only say that because last time on that Bellator breakdown, we were like, underdog. By the way, people lost their on that Bellator whole entire card. There were so many underdogs that hit. Man, it was nuts. But let's get into your next fight. All right, so let's continue on this journey through the main card for UFC 287, guys. Let's go into the co-main event. We have Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. Good friend of mine, Jorge. Haven't really been in really great touch with him over the past probably like 6 years. He's been on different kind of baller status, different kind of friends, and different atmosphere. But let's talk about Gilbert Burns first. Gilbert Burns is going to have a little bit of a shorter reach, but Gilbert impressed me versus Khamzat. He really did a great job. Gilbert was one of these guys that I never really believed in. He had the ability to win, and he had the ability with his wrestling and his takedowns and his jiu-jitsu to win fights, but Gilbert was always this Neanderthal type fighter that would come in and just swing big, and he had good power. But he doesn't have the best chin. He just doesn't. He can get rocked. He can get knocked. And usually when he gets rocked, though, he's learned how to fight through that. And there's been a little bit of a resurgence on his side. The guy is fighting a lot smarter. The last 2 fights, let's say the last 3-4 fights, when he was fighting Usman, it was, I have to strike with him because he's a great wrestler. And I've been in the gym with him, and I've been on the mat with him. And the guy's really great at wrestling, so I can beat him striking. I know I can. And Usman just came out there and wiped the floor with him. He comes out there against someone like Stephen Thompson and just tells me, like, I'm going to take him down. And it's one of those things where you don't really believe him, but let's see. And he goes out there to a T. Doesn't matter. Doesn't try to strike. Actually, when he's trying to strike, he's losing. And you saw a little bit of a transition there. Gilbert would go for the takedowns. He wasn't necessarily getting it properly, but he ends up winning that fight. All in all, Steven did a great job, but Gilbert won that fight. All right. So then Gilbert comes out, fights a big, just a huge name in Khamzat, and really pushes him. I mean, a guy who hasn't been pushing the UFC, fighting up and down weight classes, just knocking people out, ragdolling people, Gilbert was in that fight. Gilbert rocked him at some point, dropped him. Gilbert was there to fight. He did not care. Gilbert showed me something in that fight. And then he comes out and he beats Neil Magny, I believe, by just submission. And in that fight, he told me this is what's going to happen. I am now starting to believe Gilbert Burns. I am now starting to believe when Gilbert Burns tells me I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take him down constantly. I mean, I believe him. So look at Jorge Masvidal, George Masvidal. The guy's a power puncher. He's a guy who is looking. So when he fought Ben Askren, right? Ben Askren had all the tools to beat Jorge Masvidal. Jorge can be taken down at that point. I knew his takedown defense was amazing, but Jorge was known for a fighter that could be taken down and controlled, practically, mostly. He's worked on that heavily. And when he fought Ben Askren, he had worked a few different things. He realized that, man, my camp, when they see a game plan put together, I can go out there. If we work on it, I can hit it and knock some people out. Like Ben Askren, he was working that knee. The second Ben Askren came in, just dipped down. Jorge running, knee out. I mean, Ben was like weirdly stiff. Like, dude, is he alive stiff? Like, I think you just murdered someone. I mean, Jorge, so he has that ability. He has that kind of potential. He now believes in his power and he believes in his takedown defense. So when it comes down to it, he's been able to surprise wrestlers. Gilbert Burns, not necessarily a wrestler, but a grappler, a submission guy who's implemented wrestling and who's gotten really good at it, at where he's at now. A guy like that, I mean, Jorge can knock that guy out. Jorge can game plan and see the little holes and things that Burns does. So for Burns to be a minus 500, kind of crazy, but I kind of get it. Because I know what Burns is going to do. The question is, and I think the most important question is, I do favor Gilbert Burns. Huh, no surprise, right? He's a big favorite. But I think the bigger question is Jorge Masvidal going to allow himself to be submitted? Is he going to allow himself to be finished? Currently, Jorge has this little shtick going on that he's like, oh, these fighters, are going to come in here. They're going to try to take me down and hump me all night. And I'm going to top. I'm going to hit him in the head. I'm going to play with him. But Jorge still thinks, even though he got knocked out by Usman cold, he believes that was a fluke. Like, okay, props to him. Hey, it happens, right? Hey. But when it comes down to it, Jorge's like, dude, these guys are going to try to take me down. If they don't, I win. And there's this image and there's this persona and there's this thing. I don't think Jorge Masvidal is going to be as marketable or as big if he goes out here and gets submitted by Gilbert Burns in the first round. Like, his name is already sort of dwindling when it comes down to value. I know he's wearing Versace and he's living that life right now. But really, his brand to me needs to either go with the consistency, right? So his brand needs to continue to say, hey, the only way you're going to beat me is by trying to hump my leg. Give me a real fight. If you put a real fighter in front of me, I'm going to knock them out. And when he takes these little fights against these grapplers, maybe he knocks them out and he becomes a legend. Or maybe he gets humped the whole time and he's like, why don't you give me a real fighter? And so that brand will continue to go on there. So I like the actual over 2.5 rounds. I think it's at plus money right now. I think Gilbert gets Jorge down. And the only thing is, like, what happens if Jorge hits a knee from hell or an uppercut from hell and knocks Gilbert Burns out? I mean, there's still variables there. There's still the reason why it's plus money. Gilbert Burns could take Jorge down, and for the first time in a very long time, Jorge can get submitted. I just don't necessarily see it coming. I see Gilbert working, and I see Jorge fighting off those takedowns, possibly getting down, laughing, really holding on to Gilbert Burns, calling him names, and Gilbert Burns just laughing it off and trying to get him into submission, maybe even getting his back, but I don't think he's going to sink it in. By the third round, I do see a tired Gilbert Burns. Is that when Jorge Masvidal is going to be able to hit some of those shots and knock Gilbert Burns out? That's the worry with the over 2.5. Over 1.5, I like it. I like the over 1.5 pretty good. The over 2.5, a little scarier, but I still like it. Okay, that's what I'll give you for this fight. I think Gilbert Burns wins by decision. If you want to know the prop that I like best, Gilbert Burns by decision. I think Masvidal fights him off. If it was a 5-rounder, I would say, okay, maybe in the 4th or 5th round, either Gilbert's definitely getting knocked out or Masvidal is definitely gonna possibly get submitted. So, but in a 3-rounder like this, I think it goes over. I like Burns. Let's get into your next fight. All right, so let's keep this train moving. UFC 287 again goes down on April 8th in Miami. Let's get into your next fight. We have Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez. Let's look at Rob Font. Rob Font's getting a little older. Rob Font is showing his age a little bit. I remember he fought Jose Aldo, and in that Jose Aldo fight, I mean, Rob was getting hurt. I mean, he was landing and doing great work. It's just like pop, 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 3 minutes of the round. He's just like just doing his work, and then all of a sudden, and it would be like, oh my God, wobbly legs, and Aldo would end up winning that round, and just he ended up really hurting Rob Font. And then We saw Rob Font against Chito Vera just get hurt. I mean, I thought they were going to stop that fight a bunch. They didn't stop it. But when you look at people that Rob Font does fight, boxers like Cody Garbrandt, let's say, he goes out there and really puts together a clinic. His jab, amazing. But it's just his durability nowadays. If this were Adrian Yanez versus Rob Font 5 years ago, 4 years ago, oh yeah, definitely 4 years ago, Rob Font 100% of the time, all day, every day, just Rob Font. I mean, I'd have another house, right? I mean, Rob Font all day. But in this fight, talking to Rob Font, jab city is what he's saying. Jab, jab, jab. He has a slight reach advantage. He has a slight height advantage. He told me, I beat Cody Garbrandt. Well, how do you think I did it? I can do it again. I'm fighting another boxer. Adrian Yanez isn't this amazing wrestler. Adrian Yanez is, and not only that, but he saw the same things I saw. When Adrian Yanez fights, he shorts himself a little bit. He doesn't use his reach to the full potential that he stays compact and likes to throw with more power. And he doesn't use that long reach and touch. He's just more power-based type striking. So Rob Font sees holes. Rob Font is older, though, and he has been hurt a lot. But let's look at Adrian Yanez, because I think Adrian Yanez is a very interesting prospect. I like Adrian Yanez coming in. I was really skeptical of the level of competition and the way the UFC was bringing him up. I mean, putting him up against Grant Davey. That's a hard match. Grant Davies, he's a mother. You know what I mean? Like, the guy can hit hard. When putting up against Randy Costa, I think that's a lot of the things that Rob Font saw. A lot of things I saw too. Putting up against Randy Costa and Randy Costa just jabbing his face off. I mean, jab after jab after jab, just jabbing Yanez's face to where Yanez was, I was like, dang, like, this is not good. And then Randy Costa does what Randy Costa does. Randy Costa gassed out, and Yanez put it on him, taking him out, right? But when you looked at like Randy Costa and Yanez, who the winner, Yanez looked like he lost. Yanez's face was busted up. One thing I will say is Yanez has a little bit of a chin on that little guy. I've seen that little guy take some hits and just keep marching down, keep marching forward. So strong chin. One thing about Yanez is that he's been training his grappling way more recently. Really getting in on it. Really getting down on getting people down. He's really trying to just stretch his game out. And I think that could be the X factor here. The line is currently set because they believe Yanez is younger and has amazing boxing skills, which is true. They know Rob Font's older, even though he's a good boxer. Hey, Rob Font's been hurt a ton the last two fights. Last two fights. He's been hurt a lot. In the end, that's the reason why they're favoring Yanez. But the odds makers might have gotten this one right, but for a different reason. It's more because Yanez is trying to become more of a total mixed martial artist. So we may see Yanez use the length finally. Use his length better. Really throw a jab, and you'll see him extend out there a little bit more. Those are the things I'm seeing from Yanez. You're seeing Yanez try to take people down in the gym. Is his game plan going to be to come out here and take Rob Font down? If it is, you're going to win. You're going to win. You're going to be. So maybe Yanez is the favorite, but not for the right reasons. Not because he's going to come out here and jab and just box the face off of Rob Font. Because if that's Yanez's plan coming in, if Yanez's plan is to come out here and just box Rob Font just toe to toe, Rob Font is going to beat him. I believe that. Rob Font is not this derelict, like just horrible fighter. This fighter that's just aged overnight. Yes, he's aged. But if Rob Font's game plan coming in to just use his length, use his jab, stay away from Yanez, or any kind of headshots from Yanez. The only thing is, like, when you do have that higher guard, Yanez is going to be tagging that body. So Rob Font did a lot of stuff in order to prepare his body. Is it going to hold up? I don't know. But in a 3-round fight where Rob Font has the ability, these fights that Rob Font's getting hurt in, by the way, and losing, we're talking about a 5-round fight. We're talking about Rob Font early looks pretty good. We're talking about in rounds 3, 4, or 5, really 4 and 5, Rob Font just dropping the ball. In a 3-round fight in which Rob Font has to stay away from you and jab you up to win, something that he's seen you do, something that he's seen work on you before, I mean, Yanez has to change it up, guys. Why is Yanez favored like this if he's not going to change it up? I know odds makers messed up here, but maybe they messed up and they're going to be rewarded for it in the end, because I sort of favor Yanez. Slightly. I mean, you got to understand the experience that Rob Font has had. Look at the people Giannis has fought. All right. Let's talk about their records compared to the people Rob Font's fought. That's because Rob Font has fought people like Jose Aldo. He's fought people like Cody Garbrandt. He's fought people like Marlon Vera. Rob Font is putting in that work. Marlon Moraes. I mean, literally, he's putting in that work. He's been putting in that work for years. That chin, though, is starting to show it, and that's the problem. That body's starting to show it. I've never seen Rob Font wince to a body shot before. I'm seeing him wince to body shots. I'm seeing his body break down. He's getting older. So, therefore, I do favor Giannis. And actually, weirdly enough, if this were a 5-round fight, Giannis was within the distance is like, just lock it in because that's what I believe would happen. But in this fight, I do favor like an over 1.5. I do think Rob comes out there, puts a good game plan. I think Giannis in the second and third round really has to put it together and really figure things out. Figure out Rob Font for round 1 and then start implementing the proper game plan in round 2 and 3. I think he ends up taking this fight. But at minus 180 or whatever he's at, no. I don't. Minus 180? Give me minus 110. Give me minus 120. And Giannis, we'll do some Giannis betting. Minus 180 against someone at the caliber of Rob Font. I mean, I just don't necessarily see the value there. So right now, Adrian Yanez, I'm going to probably pass on this fight, but you guys are going to tune into that right up on Friday because there are things that happen. There are things that happen that we're like, whoa, no, all in on this guy. All in now. All in. I know I said something different, but all in. So information will be coming out this week, but let's get into your next fight. So let's get into your next fight. Your next fight for UFC 287 is Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. Let's talk about Kevin Holland first. Kevin Holland, 30 years old, 81-inch reach, going to have height, going to have the reach. On a little bit of a losing streak, Kevin Holland, it's a little bit crazy the way Kevin Holland's career has gone. He was on this crazy rise. He had fought a really big guy with a ton of power and just mouthed his way through it losing, but came on the scene, splash big. Dana White hated him at first, but Dana White grew to love him. And then I've seen Holland mature over the years, and I've seen him get better and break through the ceiling and break through these big transformations, but not recently. Recently, I've seen him sort of retract and sort of go backwards a little bit. Kevin Holland came out against Khamzat and thought, I'm gonna kill this guy. Like, this guy thinks he's the thing. All right. He hasn't fought someone as good as me yet. So, obviously, Khamzat put in that work. I mean, it was over fast. Khamzat worked him. Kevin Holland wanted to retire after that. He's like, dude, I'm never going to get on that level. There's nothing I'm going to do that's going to get that good. Went around, talked to a few people, figured out, like, man, I'm not done. Like matchups make fights, right? MMA math is stupid. MMA math doesn't work. And, look at all the people in the main event. We talked about it. Alex Pereira. Look, all the people that would beat Alex Pereira, Izzy has beaten them. It's just MMA math doesn't work out. So Kevin goes back to the drawing board. He's like, all right, well, he gets a really good friendship with a few different people and then decides, like, hey, the matchmakers want him and a really good friend to fight. And that's Stephen Thompson. And in that Stephen Thompson fight, we saw a guy who wasn't as good. We saw Kevin Holland who just seemed, he was fighting in there and he was in it. He was trying to break Stephen Thompson, but there was something missing from him. So now I'm wondering if Kevin Holland has a little thing missing inside of him, that competitive edge. Did Khamzat ruin Kevin Holland's career? I don't know. I will say this: Kevin Holland is very serious about this. The only thing is, I think we've seen Kevin Holland's ceiling, and I don't think he's cracking through this one, guys. I don't think he's getting through it. I don't think he's going to emerge as like a better fighter. So now you're looking at a very, what you're going to get with Kevin Holland. The only thing he's added to this camp is seriousness. He's a little more serious. He kind of realizes, like, I'm on a 2-fight losing streak, and I love my job, and I kind of don't want this to end. Or I've come to that epiphany recently. So Kevin Holland's putting in that work, ready to go. Got a pretty good matchup. Santiago Ponzinibbio, 36 years old, a lot older, going to be missing in the reach and the height department. Very, very powerful guy, but you got to understand, Santiago came back from a horrible infection, from horrible injury. Really didn't expect him to look like himself. He didn't. He got worked, but he kept fighting. He kept working. He kept putting in that work, and in turn, you saw him like, man, he's soaring. Like, this guy is just going. He's soaring and doing great. Where's it going to end? When's he going to hit the ceiling? I honestly think we're starting to come across that short-lived little course that happened with Ponzinibbio. From his injury up until like his quick soar and rise when he came back after he got knocked out, that quick soar and rise, I think we're starting to see it. I think in that last fight, man, he was getting hurt a lot from a guy who is a power striker but is slow. You can sort of see the things that are coming your way. Ponzinibbio is now 36. And talking to Ponzinibbio after that fight, yeah, I mean, he knows he got touched up. He didn't see all those fights. He didn't see all those punches. Kevin Holland's going to hit Ponzinibbio hard. In talking to Ponzinibbio, he's looking at leg kicks. That's one of his things. He thinks in this fight he's going to be able to hit leg kicks and really hurt Kevin Holland and stop him from sitting down on the punches. I think he thinks after 3 leg kicks, it might be over. I think he might be right. I think after a few leg kicks, you may see Kevin Holland like switch stance and be like, "Oh, you got me. You know how Kevin Holland plays in there." So, by no means am I sitting here saying that Kevin Holland is going to win or going to lose this fight, but I will say Santiago Ponzinibbio has experience, knows how to. I mean, in that last fight, it was a back and forth battle where he was getting rocked and he ended up knocking out Alex Moreno. Alex Moreno, decent chin, puts himself out there for no reason. We knew that this was a big possibility. But in this fight, Kevin Holland does a lot of the same things. Really good chin. I mean, pretty good chin, solid. You have to catch him with something very, very hard, something he doesn't see coming, not something I see Santiago doing. So we're looking at a guy who's longer, probably going to hit harder for sure. I mean, you have to favor Kevin Holland, but to count out Santiago after seeing the quick soar, like what if that last fight he was just a little off for that fight? Who knows? You don't really know. You can't really get into the psyche of a fighter. You can ask him, but unless you really, really know that person, unless you're that person yourself, you don't really know what's going through his brain. What if that was just a little blip on the radar and he's going to soar past again? I don't necessarily see it. I think Kevin Holland wins. I think Kevin Holland wins inside the distance. I think Kevin Holland if Kevin Holland was Alex Moreno, if that was that fight, Ponzinibbio would have been out in the first round. The first time Ponzinibbio was hurt, I don't think the second, third, fourth time Ponzinibbio was hurt, if that was Kevin Holland, that Ponzinibbio would still be standing. So you have to favor Kevin Holland, putting that crazy, crazy juice on him. I think he's like minus 260 currently. No. Play him inside the distance and take the chance. You might even be able to get plus money. But let's get into your last fight for this humongous card right now. All right, so let's get into your last fight for UFC 287 that goes down on April 8th. We have Raul Rosas Jr. versus Christian Rodriguez. Let's look at Raul first. Let's look at Rosas first. Rosas is coming in here 7-0. 5'9", 67-inch reach, 18 years old. That's right. He is 18 years old. Young kid, grappler. Very, very strong. But isn't the smartest kid. Like, he's the hype side. He's the side that everyone's looking at and they're pumping up. We're looking at social media. It's Raul Rosas Jr. all over the place. Rosas Jr. is just everywhere on Instagram, everywhere on YouTube. They're telling the story of this kid. He's a kid that was out there and be like, Dana, 50 G's. My mom needs a minivan so she can drive me to the PI. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just a young kid, 18 years old, doesn't even drive. His mom drives him. Submission ace. I mean, everyone's loving this kid. And I think that's what's pumping this line to be like, I think he's sitting at like a minus 250 or something crazy, like minus 245. Let me tell you about Christian Rodriguez, guys. Christian Rodriguez is 8-1. Christian Rodriguez, height, good. Christian Rodriguez reach, gonna be better. Christian Rodriguez is 25. He's got that man strength. He's been through that 18. That crazy 18 where you just get on someone's back and choke them the hell out. Christian Rodriguez has been there. Christian Rodriguez is a solid fighter. He is a good fighter. He knows how to win fights. Look, he came in on short notice against Jonathan Pierce and lost, but looked amazing. Gave that kid everything. Had that kid in a guillotine that I swear to God it should have ended. Jonathan, I don't know. I've never seen him submitted. I've seen some crazy stuff from Jonathan in the gym. Nuts. I mean, the stuff he trains with, the stuff he does, nuts. Christian Rodriguez, if it was Rosas, I think Rosas would have had to go out cold. I don't know if he's going to tap. The thing is that Raul puts himself in very, very bad positions. Raul's not the best. I know they're hyping him up, and he may come out here, get the takedown, and get the submission in the first round. That's what everyone's expecting from him. That's what you're going to expect from a minus 250. Man, Christian Rodriguez, again, guys, solid fighter, good striking. Not the best submissions necessarily, not the best transitions. So that's one place that Rosas does have more of the ability to win, is in the wrestling and the transitions. But Christian Rodriguez is one of these guys that he has his submission bank. He has the book of submissions that he knows. And the first 5 pages, he gets them, he's going to choke you out or he's going to finish you, right? He is a specialist when it comes to like 2 submissions. Those first really 2 pages, right? That's important because it makes him live in the striking and it makes him live even in the grappling. Because Rosas is going to give Christian Rodriguez the things that he needs in order to find the submissions that he's good at. So Rosas has to put himself in danger. Now, I've seen him do it before. He's one of these kids that are 18, doesn't believe he's going to lose. Just young, dumb, and full of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like young and dumb and just goes out there, puts his head in the wrong place, slams people in positions that you're like, that was unnecessary. You could have just easily whoop, save some energy. But no, I mean, he's this young kid, and I totally see Christian Rodriguez coming out here, putting together a good, I mean, guys, Christian Rodriguez should be the side that's favored. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe if you really broke it down, Christian Rodriguez has a chance to win this fight. Now, I've said this kind of stuff before, and then the other fighter goes out there and like just smokes the fighter that I'm like, they're value. They got a chance. They could win. But I really do believe it here, guys. I really do believe that Christian Rodriguez, unless there's an injury, unless there's something wrong with Christian Rodriguez, but even then, I've seen him come in with a decent injury and still perform, still do well. Short notice, injury, doesn't matter. Still almost win fights. So Christian Rodriguez is solid, man. I don't know what the UFC is thinking here. I know maybe the UFC believes their own hype behind Raul Rosas Jr. I think they're giving the fans what they want. They're putting us on the main card. This is going to be a good fight, guys. I mean, in and of itself, this fight on a pay-per-view, this deserves to be on a pay-per-view. I know they're young, but their styles are there. Their styles are ones that are going to make this exciting. So that's it, guys. That's going to be your main card first preview for UFC 287 that goes down on April 8th in Miami. Now, if you guys like this kind of content, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to comment down below UFC for this humongous UFC event that's going to go down. Those comments, by the way, guys, that helps us with the algorithm. So just spam comments, put it all in there. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up, hit that notification button so you guys are notified right away. I know you guys got notified late about the Bellator Fight Pick of the Year. I've been telling you guys to hit that notification button for a reason. You guys have to hit that notification button because not only was it a winner, baby, but it was an underdog winner. But no need to look at the past. Let's look at the future. We have UFC 287. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira, guys. I'm telling you guys right here, right now, UFC 287, April 8th. It's going to be a great day to win, baby. Let's get it.